Thanks for joining me for this week's episode of Muddy's Whitetail Watch. Last week I talked about the fact that I really start to focus on morning and evening hunting starting about the 25th of October. That's more or less the official start date of the rut as far as I'm concerned. You've got about a week there when things are really starting to kind of, they're ramping up. If you catch a cold front in there, it can be really good. Then you get into November, and of course everybody knows what happens in November. But let's talk a little bit more about this last week of October and what the deer are doing and some of the strategies that you can use during that time. This is about the only part of the season when it makes sense to hunt scrapes. Everybody wants to hunt scrapes because they're so visual, and you have this impression when you see a scrape of this great big buck standing there pawing the earth and tearing it up and making that scrape in front of you, and you think, well, if I'm in that stand or if I'm in a tree near that thing, he's going to come back and he's going to hit that again. But the reality of it is, once the rut really gets going, the bucks aren't really going to scrapes. What they're doing is they're actively looking for does. So when we get into the rut, we'll talk about that change of behavior and how we really start to focus on does. But up until then, we still have bucks that are more or less on their fall pattern. They haven't gone into that full seek mode that they run into or they begin doing during the rut. So the scrapes that you find along trails make a lot of sense. The scrapes that you find on field edges aren't quite as useful because a lot of those are made at night. Also, any fresh rubs that you see, that's also an indication a lot of times of a travel route that a buck is using. And he will probably continue to use that until the rut starts to pull him out of his normal patterns. So again, we've got this upside of a little bit more daylight activity now with the last part of October, and the buck sign actually indicates where we're likely to see a buck. So let's take advantage of that this last week of October. Morning hunts, you don't want to get quite as aggressive as you're going to get during the rut, so stay back on the fringes a little bit more, hunting travel routes, just sort of putting your time in, watching, learning. Evening hunts should be close to food. Again, any of these trails that you can find back in the woods that aren't too close to a bedding area where you risk bumping the deer, it makes a lot of sense to hunt those during this time. The bucks are getting more aggressive now too. Calling should start to work, decoying should start to work, some light rattling maybe can get the curiosity up on a buck. He's not going to think that it's two bucks fighting over a doe, so don't get too carried away with trying to mimic that. What you really want to do is just, it sounds of the two bucks sparring. The more mature buck wants to come over and say, hey guys, the boss is still in town here, so don't get too carried away. That's sort of what that is all about. And again, when we get into the rut, we'll talk more about the more aggressive calling. Just some basic grunting, nothing too sophisticated here. You got a buck that's out of bow range, hit him with 2 or 3 contact grunts, just get his attention, and as soon as he looks up and looks your way, or stops what he's doing and looks your way, hit him with one more, give him something to home in on, and then just be quiet. At this point, there's nothing to really gain by calling more. So these are some tips that'll work on the last week of October. Get out there, things are starting to get rolling now. This is like I said, the official start of the rut throughout most of the country. So we're all excited about it here, and hopefully you get a chance to get out and do some hunting during this coming week. Now let's talk about a product. And last week I talked about the Vantage tree stands, and the whole focus there was mobility, being able to go from one spot to another, having one stand and multiple locations set up, or being able to go into a spot that you haven't hunted before and quickly get a stand in place. So again, portability and mobility was the key. And taking that one step further, Muddy also makes a product that I think is really useful for that that you can put on almost any tree stand, and that's their shoulder straps. And it's in the accessory category on their website. You can go check it out. But these are super comfortable and highly practical. I mean, what are you going to do? Tie some ropes on there or something? It's not nearly as comfortable as having a nice padded strap, especially if you're going to hang the sticks off the back to increase the mobility and the quick climbing ability that you have. You've got a tree stand that's portable. You've got the sticks attached to the tree stand. You've got the strap so that you can carry it all comfortably. You can cover a lot of ground. You can hunt a lot of fresh spots with a system like that. So that's it for this week. Like I said, we're all excited about what's coming up now in the next, I'd say we got 3 weeks of pretty fast action and pretty exciting hunting. So we'll keep hitting the high points of what the deer are doing and what we should be doing as deer hunters in response to that over the next several weeks. So keep checking back, and we'll continue to bring you more episodes of Muddy's Whitetail Watch.